Slow reps or fast reps? Which one is actually better for building muscle after 40? If you're over 40 and you train with weights, you have probably heard both sides of the argument. On one side, someone told you that after 40, you need to do everything slowly, really controlled, feeling the muscle because your body can't handle impact anymore. On the other side, someone swore that slow reps are a waste of time, that muscles grow with heavy loads and explosive movement, and that training slowly is for people who are afraid of iron. And there you are, not knowing what to do, because everyone says something different. Today, that doubt in your head will disappear once and for all, and I will tell you up front, the answer is not what most videos out there will give you. It is not a vague "it depends" thrown out carelessly, and it is also not a single answer that works for everyone. There is, in fact, a clear strategy based on science and on the reality of a man's body over 40 that combines the best of both worlds. Stay with me until the end, because I will also give you a practical protocol ready to apply in your next workout, telling you exactly when to use slow reps, when to use fast reps, and how to distribute that throughout your week. Before comparing slow versus fast, you need to understand one fundamental thing. The body you have today is not the same body you had at 25. And I am not saying that to discourage you, but you need to train smarter. That is what it comes down to. I need to say this because most of the training advice circulating on the internet was designed for young athletes. And blindly applying those rules to the body of a man in his 40s or 50s is a recipe for frustration and injury. Let us look at the facts. Starting at age 40, 3 important things happen in your body. First, sarcopenia starts knocking at the door. You naturally lose somewhere between 3% and 8% of muscle mass per decade if you do nothing about it. And here is the detail. That loss is not the same across all fiber types. Type 2 fibers, the fast ones, responsible for explosive strength and power, are the first to shrink. Type 1 fibers, the slow ones, remain relatively preserved. Remember that information because it will be decisive when we reach the conclusion. Second point, your tendons, ligaments, and cartilage no longer have the same elasticity and ability to absorb impact that they once did. The collagen in your body regenerates more slowly, and that means that sudden, poorly executed movements with excessive load come at a much higher price than they did at 25. A case of tendinitis that used to clear up in a week can now keep you out of training for 2 months. Third point, your recovery is slower. The gradual decline in testosterone and growth hormone means the muscle rebuilding process after training takes longer. Do not worry, that does not prevent you from gaining muscle. Research clearly shows that men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s build muscle mass when they train correctly. But it does mean you cannot afford to waste a workout. Every set needs to count because your recovery window is more precious. So the right question is not just what builds more muscle. The right question is, what builds more muscle while protecting my joints, preserving my fast twitch fibers, and respecting my recovery capacity? That is the lens through which we are going to analyze each method now. What science actually says about rep speed. When we talk about rep speed, or cadence, we are talking about the time it takes you to complete each phase of the movement. A repetition has essentially 2 main phases. The concentric phase, which is when you overcome the load, pushing the bar up on a bench press or rising out of a squat. And the eccentric phase, which is when you resist the load on the way back down, lowering the bar to your chest or descending in a squat. A fast repetition typically lasts 1 to 2 seconds in total. A slow one can last 4 to 8 seconds, or even longer in super slow protocols, where each repetition reaches 10 to 14 seconds. And what do the studies comparing these cadences actually say? A widely cited review conducted by Schoenfeld and colleagues analyzed dozens of research papers and reached a conclusion that surprises many people. For hypertrophy, repetitions lasting anywhere from half a second to 8 seconds produce very similar results. as long as the effort level is equivalent. Only when the repetition becomes excessively slow, above 10 seconds, does muscle gain start to suffer because the load you are able to use drops too far. Does that mean it makes no difference? No. It means muscle growth does not depend on speed itself, but rather on three mechanisms that speed influences. Mechanical tension, which is how much force your fibers produce against the resistance. Metabolic stress, that burning sensation and swelling you feel when the muscle works for a long time without rest. And proximity to failure, meaning how close you take the set to your real limit. Cadence is a tool for manipulating those three factors. And that is exactly why, for a man over 40, the choice of speed matters a great deal. Not because of the muscle itself, but because of everything that comes with it. Joint safety, motor control, preservation of power, and quality of stimulus. So let us first talk about the advantages of slow reps for those who have passed the age of 40. The first major advantage is joint safety. When you slow down the movement, you eliminate momentum, the famous throwing the weight. And momentum is exactly the biggest cause of injuries in the gym. The person who swings their body during a bicep curl, who bounces the bar off their chest on the bench press, who drops into a squat and uses the rebound to come back up. That person is transferring the load from the muscle to tendons, ligaments, and joints. At 25, the body forgives. At 45, it sends you the bill. Slow, controlled movement keeps the tension where it belongs, in the muscle. The second advantage is increased time under tension. If you do 10 reps at 2 seconds each, your muscle works for 20 seconds. If you do 10 reps at 5 seconds each, that is 50 seconds of continuous work. This extended time under tension increases metabolic stress and fiber recruitment as the set progresses, which is a powerful growth stimulus, especially valuable because it allows you to create a brutal workout using lighter loads. And here is the key insight for those over 40. You can take the muscle to total exhaustion with a weight that your joints will thank you for. Less load on the spine, less load on the shoulder, less load on the knee, and the same hypertrophy stimulus. Studies on low-load training taken to failure show muscle gains comparable to heavy loads, and slow cadence is one of the smartest ways to apply that principle. The third advantage, which few people mention, a slow eccentric phase is pure gold for tendons. Research in rehabilitation shows that controlled eccentric work stimulates collagen synthesis and strengthens tendon structure. In other words, lowering the load slowly is not just safe. It is literally a preventive treatment against the tendinitis that haunts men in our age range. Now, the disadvantages, because they exist and they are serious. The first, slow reps force you to reduce the load, and absolute load still matters for maximum strength. If you train only slowly forever, your raw strength will stagnate or regress. The second disadvantage, and this is the most important one for us, slow reps do not train power. Remember the type 2 fibers, the fast twitch fibers that age takes away first? They respond to speed and explosive stimuli. A training program that is exclusively slow simply does not speak to them in the language they understand. And power, in real life, is what allows you to react to a stumble before you fall, climb stairs with energy, play with your kids or grandkids without getting hurt. Aging studies show that muscular power declines almost twice as fast as strength over the years. And it is one of the best predictors of functional independence in old age. The third disadvantage is discomfort. Slow training taken to failure burns intensely. It is mentally demanding, and many people unconsciously reduce their effort level, turning a powerful tool into a lukewarm set that stimulates nothing. Now let us talk about fast reps. And here, I need to clear up a misconception right away. A well-executed fast rep is not a sloppy rep. It is not throwing the weight, it is not using momentum, it is not sacrificing technique. A fast rep, in the correct sense, means moving the load with maximum intended speed in the concentric phase, while maintaining complete control of the movement. You push, pull, or lift with all the force and speed you can generate. but the path of the movement remains perfect throughout. The first major advantage of fast reps is exactly what slow reps lack. They recruit and preserve type 2 fibers. When you attempt to move a load with maximum velocity, your nervous system is forced to activate the high threshold motor units, those connected to the fast and powerful fibers. For a man over 40, this is not a minor detail, it is a priority. It is literally training against the biological clock, sending a signal to your body. These fibers are being used, do not discard them. So-called power training, training with fast and explosive execution, appears in numerous studies, with older adults producing superior improvements in power and functional performance compared to traditional slow training. The second advantage is neural efficiency. Fast reps improve your rate of force development, the speed at which you can generate force from zero. This translates into better reflexes, more agile movements, and a nervous system that ages more slowly. Strength is what you use to carry groceries, power is what you use to avoid falling when you misstep on the sidewalk. The third advantage is that for maximum strength, moving heavy loads with the intention of speed is simply more effective. You are able to use heavier loads than with a slow cadence, and heavy load remains one of the most direct stimuli for mechanical tension, which is the primary driver of hypertrophy. Beyond that, explosive training has a real motivational component. It makes you feel like an athlete again, not a physical therapy patient. That matters for consistency, and consistency is what builds a physique over the long term. Before we continue, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to science-based information is what will allow you to progress safely and with longevity in the world of strength training. Now, the disadvantages of fast reps, and for those over 40, they need to be faced head-on. The first and most obvious, the joint risk is higher. Speed multiplies the forces passing through tendons and joints, especially at the transition points of the movement, that moment when the descent turns into the ascent. If technique is not flawless, if there is any old injury that was not fully healed, if the warm-up is neglected, the fast rep becomes a game of chance. And let us be honest, after 40, almost everyone carries some kind of history. A shoulder that clicks, an operated knee, a treacherous lower back. The second disadvantage is that speed shortens time under tension and makes it easier to use disguised momentum. Many people think they are training explosively when they are actually cheating, taking the work away from the target muscle. The third disadvantage is the neural recovery demand. Real power training fatigues the central nervous system, and a 45-year-old nervous system recovers more slowly than a 25-year-old one. Overdoing the frequency of explosive training leads to stagnation, poor sleep, and a drop in performance. After all of this, the conclusion is clear. This war between slow and fast is a false war. Asking whether it is better to train slow or fast is like asking whether it is better to eat protein or sleep well. The answer is, you need both, each one fulfilling the role that only it can fill. Think about it with me. Slow reps give you joint safety, time under tension, refined technique, healthy tendons, and hypertrophy with joint-friendly loads. Fast reps give you preservation of type 2 fibers, power, maximum strength, neural efficiency, and functionality for real life. Neither one delivers the complete package on its own. And the body of a man over 40 needs the complete package because it is fighting on two fronts at the same time, against the loss of muscle mass and against the loss of power. And power, remember, fades almost twice as fast. The winning strategy, therefore, is intelligent combination. And there is even an execution pattern that already unites both worlds within the same repetition, used for decades by those who truly understand training. Controlled eccentric, intentional concentric. In practice, you lower the load slowly and with full control, over 3 to 4 seconds, collecting all the benefits of the eccentric phase, protection, tension, tendon stimulus, and you lift the load with the intention of speed, with full force. activating the fast twitch fibers and the nervous system. Descend slowly, ascend with aggression. This hybrid cadence is probably the best baseline pattern for most men over 40 in the majority of exercises. But you can go beyond the baseline pattern by strategically distributing the emphasis throughout the week and across exercises. And that is exactly what I'm going to give you right now. Let us get to what matters. How to put this into practice, starting with your next workout. The logic of the protocol is simple to remember. Explosiveness at the beginning, when you are fresh and on the big exercises. Control and slowness at the end, on isolation exercises and on sensitive joints. First step, the warm-up. 8 to 10 minutes. Something light to raise your temperature, mobility work for the joints that will be working, and 2 or 3 progressive sets of the first exercise with a light load. If you are going to train with an explosive component, the warm-up is your insurance policy. Second step, compound exercises at the start of the workout. Squat, leg press, bench press, row, overhead press, deadlift, or their variations. This is where the strength and power emphasis comes in. Use moderate to heavy loads, in the range of 5 to 8 reps, with the hybrid cadence, lower in 2 to 3 seconds, controlling everything, and lift with maximum intended velocity, without losing technique at any point. Stop the set when the speed of the ascent visibly drops. That is the signal that the fast twitch fibers have given what they had to give. You do not need to go to absolute failure on compound movements. Leaving 1 or 2 reps in reserve protects your joints and your nervous system without sacrificing the stimulus. Third step, intermediate and isolation exercises in the second half of the workout. Chest fly, lateral raise, bicep curl, triceps extension, leg curl, calf raise. Here the game changes. This is where the slow metabolic emphasis comes in. Lighter loads in the range of 10 to 15 reps, a cadence of 3 to 4 seconds on the way down, and 2 to 3 seconds on the way up, without pausing, maintaining continuous tension. On these exercises, yes, get close to real failure, feel the burn, chase that incredible pump. It is high-quality hypertrophy with minimal joint cost, exactly what your body is asking for at this stage. Fourth step, periodization across the weeks. Every 6 to 8 weeks, slightly shift the emphasis. Spend a block of 3 to 4 weeks prioritizing slow, metabolic work, giving your joints and nervous system a break, and then a block prioritizing strength and explosiveness, raising the loads. This alternation keeps progress consistent and is one of the most effective tools against stagnation and against injuries caused by repeating the same stimulus. Fifth step, the golden rules for our age. 1. If an explosive exercise causes joint pain, change the variation of the exercise. Do not push through it. There are dozens of variations for every muscle. 2. On a day of poor sleep or high stress, cut the explosive component and train in a controlled manner. Your nervous system will thank you. 3. The slow eccentric phase is always welcome. In any exercise, at any stage, it is the best friend your tendons have. And 4. Technique comes before load, and load comes before speed. In that order, always. If you enjoyed this and want to check out the 10 advanced strategies that force your body to gain muscle mass after 40 that other channels do not tell you about, we have a video appearing on screen right now showing each one of them in detail.